Well, thank you everyone, first of all, for inviting us. We always really love to share kind of some of the work that we're doing, but also how we can share it with other communities so that, they can take the lessons and apply it to their own disease areas. As Jane said, unfortunately, our CEO, Nikki, is not able to join today, and I will try my best to replace her to the best of my ability. So today what we want to talk to you about is really our experience of setting up our novel therapeutics accelerator, specifically in the field of brain cancer. And so what I thought I'd do today is first talk a little bit about why we set up the accelerator, why there was a need for it, how we set it up, our impact to date, and some of the early lessons that we've learned, as well as looking ahead where we're seeing the program going forth. And then after that, I would love to answer some questions if there are any. And again, if I can't answer them, then I will bring back to my team and share them with you. So firstly, we are and what we do. So the Tessa Jowell Brain Cancer Mission is a convening body that exists to design and deliver transformative programs to tackle brain tumors. We are very lucky to be backed by key organizations. So we've got the government, the NHS behind us. We've got brain tumor specific charities that support and fund us. We've got children cancer charities, as well as other pan-cancer charities. And the way it works is that they either fund us or they fund us and provide a strategic direction as well. So everyone is involved in essentially telling us how to do our work and how to best meet the needs of the community. The mission itself is run by a very small team. It's a team of 6 people, with different program managers running different programs and then kind of the upper layer of leadership. And we could not do any of the work that we do without the hundreds of clinicians and researchers that work with us side of desk to help design and deliver our programs. So our program portfolio is and we very much call it a bench to bedside program portfolio. So we very much focus on preclinical and clinical research. We focus on advancing precision medicine and novel treatments. We connect and train the NHS, and we very much focus on elevating care for patients in NHS centres. And while I'd love to talk to you about all our programs today, I really want to focus on our novel therapeutics accelerator. So what I'll first like to cover is why an accelerator, essentially. Why do we need this in brain tumors? And I think the key thing to point out here is that all our programs are set up to meet an unmet need or challenge in the community. And really that's something that's been highlighted by the community and requested. And BTR-NTA here is no exception. So what is the challenge? It goes without saying that brain cancer has consistently been seen as an intractable cancer. It has low survival rates. There's very few advancements in treatment options in the last 30 years to improve these odds. And we know that it and adults and has devastating impact. And so there's a number of reasons, though, why this is seen as an intractable cancer and why we don't have that many treatments that are coming through the pipeline, or as many as we'd like to see. This could be from overcoming funders' hesitancy to fund brain tumor research, the complexity of penetrating the blood-brain barrier, understanding tumor heterogeneity, designing appropriate trials, successfully recruiting onto these trials. Essentially, there's many issues and there's many hurdles to clear before one can successfully deliver a novel therapeutic for brain tumors. And what you can see from this slide really, and I'm not sure you know, is that there's often such a large and diverse set of expertise that's needed to successfully build out a therapeutic and to move it through the development pipeline. And that expertise rarely sits within one person or even within one lab group. And therapeutics can often move forward without certain aspects having been considered early enough in the development pathway. And so for this reason, we set up the BTR-NTA. And so the BTR-NTA is an accelerator program providing independent and holistic guidance to help position therapeutics along a realistic pathway to clinical trials. So how does this work? So researchers can apply twice a year to be reviewed by a panel of multidisciplinary experts by filling in a very extensive application form that covers their work to date. Each application form is fully covered under a strict confidentiality agreement to really protect the work of the applicant. And so once all our applications are in, our core committee, they pick the applications that they think are best suited for a review while giving initial feedback to those who are not quite ready for a full review. And then based on the applications that are that are picked, for full review. We then set together a review committee that consists of the core committee as well as additional experts that are really needed to tailor to the application essentially. So we look at, the type of therapeutic. We look at the potential challenges that the applicant has identified as needing help with, as well as challenges that the applicant may not have thought of, but we think they will need to address during the meeting. And we've put together this committee who then reviews the application in even more detail. Following that, the applicant, as well as the entire expert committee, meets at an in-person meeting, which happens all over the world, and that's really to reflect both the international nature of the applicants as well as the reviewer. And these meetings, get them to sit for half a day with the expert review committee to talk about their work. And so what they do during the meeting is they go through all the work in detail. So we ask for an initial presentation by the applicants. And then after that, the committee just goes one by one, asking all their specific questions to the applicants, talking about the challenges and how they've approached certain aspects, but also about the team that's behind the therapeutic, really trying to get an understanding of who's trying to develop the work. In addition to that meeting, we also invite the applicants and to stay a little bit later as well, just for a little debrief, so that they really get a chance to maximize their interactions with the expert committee and get as much out of them as they need. And then after that, what we do is that we collate all the information that we discussed during the meeting, as well as the debrief meeting that we have afterwards with the committee, where each committee member kind of gives their opinion on the different bits of guidance needed. And then we collate that in a feedback report. And in there, so we include that guidance, but we may also include recommendations on potential avenues for partnerships or for funding. And it is then with our hope that with that feedback report, they can then really understand the next steps that they should be undertaking, improve their work based on that, and as well as understand the pitfalls and risks that they may encounter as they develop their work. So what I hope has come across from the little that I've said already is that the people are what makes this program. The entire program really rests on the quality of the guidance provided by the experts. And for this reason, we have a brilliant core community of international experts from both within and outside of the brain tumor field, and also with experience from both within academia, but also in commercial ventures. And this is then supplemented by an extended bank of experts who are drawn on to provide guidance specific to the applicant's needs. Additionally, we always have patient and public involvement representatives, both in the form of a core committee member who has lived experience, as well as a brain tumor charity representative who's always there to talk about PPI. And so really, through this work, what we aim to do is to provide research with new insights and ideas to optimize their work, to highlight potential pitfalls or risk early enough to avoid larger problems down the line, to guide the researchers toward valuable partnerships or funding opportunities, and strengthen international collaboration and research. And finally, we're also trying to make brain tumors an exciting and supportive field to work in, with lots of extensive support and interesting partnerships and programs with real opportunities to develop. How do we set up the BTR-NTA program? So the first thing I have to do is really acknowledge the hard work and the generosity of the TAC team who launched this accelerator model in neuromuscular disease over 10 years ago. And they really helped us start the BTR-NTA program. Our vice chair, she was a professor of neuromuscular disease before her own husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And when she joined the mission, one of the things that she was most excited about was the work that TACT had been doing and how she had been involved in setting that up and seeing it grow. And she said to us, you must go speak to these people because they really understand what it's like to accelerate novel therapeutics in a disease field that is, full of rare diseases and where novel therapies are hard to come by. So, of course, we were very excited about that. And we were really excited to hear as well that they were so successful in moving new therapeutics through the pipeline. And it had really embedded itself in the field to the point where funders were constantly asking potential applicants if they were submitting a grant application, have you various bits of feedback you got. And therefore, the reviews really became a stamp of approval that the research had really considered all aspects of their work to ensure success. And so it took us about 2 years to fully design and launch our program. So we started really with the idea of developing a similar program for brain tumors based on what we heard about TACT. We then had to identify the best organization to deliver the initiative. Was it us? Was it a partner charity? And in the end, it came to us. And then we also had to find a partner to fund the program, and then also recruit the right people to the program to oversee it, to run it, and participate in it as well. And what we were really lucky as the mission, we are a convening body of so many different stakeholders who are committed to tackling brain tumors. And so we had brain tumor research who really jumped out and saw the potential of the program and offered to fund it. We to our NTA, we thought, well, we can start running the meeting by ourselves, but we still don't have a full understanding of what an actual meeting looks like. And so there's a few things that we did before we got started. First, we researched other initiatives. So we really want to ensure that we were not already replicating that was already taking place. Our aim is always to add value, and there's no point of replicating the wheel when there's so many highly valuable and capable initiatives out there as well. And from the research we did and from the community that we spoke to, we understood that and so we thought more widely when the brain tumor community, involving them kind of at every step of the design to really understand the unmet needs and get feedback on the initiative. Also to make sure that it would be well received and that it was well tailored to all the needs that they had. And then finally, we really over the year, incorporating all the learnings that they had to learn by doing. We could simply learn them by hearing. And then we decided ultimately to visit Philadelphia, where they were holding their latest TAC meeting, so that we could sit in on a meeting and really understand what that meeting looked like and speak to the applicants there as well to really understand why were they applying, what did they find most valuable. We very much follow that model. To overcome the blood-brain barrier issue. And so we decided to include delivery technologies as well as treatment devices in our review scope, so to say. We also increased guidance and support for funding and commercialization due to the difficult funding for brain cancer. It's getting better, but they continue to remain hesitant due to previous failures to fund. So where are we today then? How do we get from developing and designing to the impact that we have today? So since our launch in 2023, we've had 3 application rounds, with our 3rd meeting coming up in November. That's taking place in Boston in the US. We've had 23 international research groups applied to the program, with applications from all over the world and both from industry and academia. And now what we've learned from TACT is that as the program gathers momentum and builds up a reputation, we anticipate that there will be an increase in both industry applicants as well as applicants from outside of Europe. Because we're UK based, obviously our first applicants were very much in the UK, and we've had to expand since then, which has been very successful. 7 of the groups that have applied have progressed in in-person meeting, receiving up to 240 hours of expert input, and then another 4 of these will, of course, be reviewed in our November meeting. The remainder of those groups, they've received snap feedback, what we call it. So really this is feedback on why their application hasn't progressed, give them some guidance on next steps to undertake, so that they are ready for a full review when they apply again later on, and where possible, useful resources and introductions to enable, again, a successful application. And so the good news is that applicants really value the program. Applicants said they find it useful, it brings new insights to their work, and they always intend to share the feedback report with funders, investors, and regulatory experts. Excitingly for us as well, they all really have been recommending the program to colleagues, and we've seen this reflected in applications where people are applying through word of mouth from colleagues about the usefulness of the program. But what has also been interesting for us, and maybe we hadn't quite anticipated it in a way, was that from over 25 experts who have been involved in the program have been incredibly enthusiastic about participating and really got benefits from participating, mainly around the networking with other high caliber scientists and other experts, and also to help them think about their research in a way that they haven't always done before. So we're only 3 rounds in, so we don't have lots of lessons to share, but we've got some early lessons that we thought we would share with you. And one of the things we thought we could share with you is really kind of the examples of the types of questions the committee asks of applicants, how they discuss their strengths and risks, and as well the potential recommendations that they may make. So if we look at it from a preclinical pharmacology and kind of toxicology aspect, so the committee may ask, what models have you used and why? How much clarity do you have on the targets? Or do you have sufficient preclinical data to support the work that you're intending to do further down the line? The committee may pick up different strengths in a team, such as, or in a work, independent validation of experiments or efficacy demonstrated through the most relevant models, but they may also pick up things such as issues with the statistical analysis or incomplete assessment of long-term side effects. Then, based on this, they might make typical recommendations such as recommending the applicants to demonstrate efficacy and safety in clinically relevant models. They may provide advice on which models are most relevant and who to collaborate with to gain access to these models. They may comment on the control arms and say what you should be including and how, or they may already tell people to involve early input from a statistician because they may stumble down the line if they don't do so yet. Whereas an application with a more clinical focus, the committee may ask about alternative mechanisms or administration routes. If the applicants have thought about how it fits within the clinical pathway, they may ask them about considerations of different types of trials and to see if they've really picked the right one. Further, they may highlight strengths such as a range of expertise as being part of the team. They may also highlight, a good understanding of how other trials are done for similar therapies or indications, which then really shows that they understand the potential pitfalls that might come to them. Or they might point out unrealistic timeframes, a lack of patient selection criteria, or issues with the routes of administration. Based on that, typical recommendations that we've seen are whether for the applicant to consider the appropriate alternative delivery mechanism, what other experts they should be consulting along the pathway, or if there isn't good knowledge of previous similar trials, to go out and really glean learnings from those pitfalls so that they can incorporate the learnings into their own work. Then from a regulatory perspective, if the group is seeking that kind of input, the committee may ask, what country is the group focusing on to conduct a trial? How is that specific country or multiple countries going to affect approvals that they need? They will also ask them kind of what regulatory input they have already sought and what's been said to them. They might highlight key strengths such as, the previous use of a therapy in clinical trial without relevant concerns. They might highlight that it's really helpful to have a team member with prior experience to undergo that quite arduous regulatory approval process. And they might also highlight a key strength in a team if they have engaged quite early with regulators. Or conversely, they might point out the risk of not having any of the outlined strengths above in their team. And then typical recommendations are really around getting early feedback and input from the relevant regulatory agencies on clinical development plans, as well as more generally seeking input from regulatory consultants to support developments of various elements within the development. So then we also have quite a few of our experts who bring experience in bringing the bench, the lab to the market, and therefore they can provide valuable input on IP, funding, commercialization, etc. So as reviewers, they might ask the applicants about funding and growth plans, their analysis of the market and competitors, how they intend to spin out, and as well as health economic analyses. Again, potential strength that they might highlight here and that we've seen in applicants are a good reasoning of when to spin out and a clear understanding of what funders want and need, as well as the diversity of funding secured. Whereas some of the risks that they might highlight is when applicants have hit a block by seeking, VC investment too early without a clear plan, or have difficulty in clearly articulating and presenting their project. And they can see that if that's already an issue now, how are you going to fare when you're going to seek that investment? So typical recommendations will be things such as to carry out a freedom to operate analysis, for them to, they might comment on IP protection issues, they might give advice to applicants to improve their pitch or their grant writing skills, or to perform a health economic analysis to ensure that all finance is, of course, viable and attractive. Then finally, patient and public involvement, of course, is a key part of the work that we do. And so we always ask applicants about the risk and benefit ratio of the proposed research. We ask them to consider the practicalities of the patients undergoing this therapy, and also how patients and the public have been involved in the research so far. And again, some of the strengths that we find here in applicants is when they can really clearly articulate how patients have been involved in the trial design, and they really show clear respect and empathy and consideration of patients and what they go through. And that's very noticeable throughout their work. On the other hand, there's also risk sometimes where people haven't done enough of this, and they show an inability to describe their therapeutic to lay people, or there's a real lack of understanding between patient involvement, or they're only involving patient input way too late into the development of their therapeutic. And so therefore they may recommend early patient engagement and ensuring that the application or the applicants themselves can really clearly and considerately articulate the work that's being done to lay persons in both a suitable and a respectable tone. So looking ahead then, having had what we've done in the past and what we're hoping and what we've done today, and shared some of our learnings with you, we want to keep iterating the program. And so in addition to running more and more meetings and helping more and more applicants, those are key activities that we're undertaking to better support our applicants and the community as a whole. And so this includes a funding navigator to help direct applicants to relevant funding opportunities. And this is kind of an ongoing piece of work, as the funding obviously is always being renewed. And so we have interns essentially that are always and ensuring to take away older opportunities so that it just remains as fresh as possible for our applicants. We also want to share our lessons, and some of these include the earlier lessons that we showed you previously, but also some of the new things that we're working on, and share these with the wider community via journal papers so that every applicant can almost go through like a tick list of like, have I considered all these different things before they apply? And then we also want to further strengthen our support for applicants that are not yet ready, so that the applicants that do come to us are essentially very likely to be very successful in their application. And so this includes, like we said, some of the snap feedback that we give initially, but also we're exploring other avenues of what that could potentially look like and what the needs are of those early applicants and why they thought they were ready to apply when maybe they are not quite yet. And so in summary, our program is really an iterative process. We're constantly learning and evolving and hopefully improving based on the other people, such as yourselves as well, to really understand what other learnings can we learn from other disease areas, from similar programs, to make sure that we're giving the best that we can to our applicants. Our aim is to always be scientist designed and led to ensure that it best meets the needs of the community and really fosters that kind of therapeutic development. And then we also want to be a truly educational program for both those who are reviewed as well as those who do the reviewing, thereby contributing to a very strong community that, collaborates closely and is fond of each other as well and is supportive of each other. So finally, we want to thank TACT once again for their amazing support in helping establish our program. Also, they have kindly offered to speak to anyone on this call who was keen to learn more about their initiative and what they want, and are open to any questions and learnings to share. And then we also want to thank, of course, Brain Tumor Research for their amazing funding to fund our work, but also they had the foresight to understand the transformative impact this program could have on both the researchers and patients. And without, we could not have done this work. So finally, as I said before, I'm the director of programs, and unfortunately our CEO Nikki or our program manager Charlotte are not here, and they are really the best position to answer all these questions that people may have. So I would recommend, aside from the ongoing discussion we'll have here afterwards, but if you want to learn more, go to our website and just have a look at both the work that we do, but also some of the reviews that we've put up there. So we publish comprehensive summaries of every therapy that we review on our website, so you can have an understanding of where we're at. And then otherwise you can contact Charlotte as well, who would love to jump on individual calls with people and talk through the program in detail.